earlier. Who used to watch Mankind, those programs where you made things? Right, are you all okay, comfortable? Okay, right. The work that I think has really been important for the Federation for Community Learning over the last few years is when we've actually managed to access resources to be able to work with our partners, such as the Southwest Foundation, Manchester Refugee Support Network, Sunderland Black Heritage Network, organisations like the Twix in the South East, who sort of like run a whole wide, hi Barbara, lots of QTAM programmes. Our work happens successfully when we get to listen and learn from people in communities and groups. Because we work at a national level, we obviously can't be doing all the networking, all the outreaching, so we do rely on working with our partners to do that. And as Venus told us, what's important when you're looking at supporting community development learning, it's to listen to and learn from what's happening with community members, what's happening to community groups. And the Sankofa bird that Dean was talking to you about earlier, can people see that at the back? Okay? The Sankofa bird, it's a mythical bird from Ghana. And one of the sort of like ways of breaking down what Sankofa means is to go back and take what is lost. If you think about community members, community groups, that quite often you've got the planners, you've got the policy makers that are saying, what do communities need? What should communities be doing? Unless those sort of like community members and groups are listened to and sort of like understood in terms of what's important to them, all planning, all policies won't make any difference because it's not actually listening to the expertise of the community members. So very much in terms of the work that we do at the Federation, we've been really sort of like lucky that we've actually got a really positive membership in sort of like Wales, in Northern Ireland. Where are you, Dave? Where's Scotland? Scotland in the house, where are you there? Scotland? Okay, right. Okay. Where else have we got? Have we got anybody here from, let me think, is anybody here from Northern Ireland? Okay, because we do often have people here from Northern Ireland. So literally what's actually healthy about community development, community learning, is when you actually find places and spaces where people can actually listen to each other. We've done a few projects. The Sankofa Transformation Festival that took place in October 2009, where people celebrated and looked at what was important in terms of sort of like through community action, having experiences in formal community development learning. Has anybody here took part in the Sankofa Festival? Was anybody here? Yeah? Okay, where are you, Janice? And then hello, five. Let me see your hand out. Okay, let's have some hands. We worked with a number of groups in sort of like different regions, and what happened is that people just defined and decided what did they want to do to celebrate being community groups. And part of celebrating being community groups, we got to actually get people to tell their stories about what was important. And part of the issue of actually working with community groups and actually sort of supporting them to tell their stories is actually what, can people see what this is? Can't hear you. Yes, aye. Okay, so it's literally, in terms of thinking about change, and people think about what you do in community action, it's getting people to say, from their point of view, from their perspective, if you look at the images that are all in this report that you can see that's actually on the back there, it's people doing, and they've defined what's important. So they've looked at the issues and the themes that are affecting them as community members. They've looked at the issues that affect them as community groups. And so they've defined the images, be it the photographs that we took. Here's one of the tools that a lot of people use. Has anybody used a flip camera? Yeah. Yeah? Yes? Oh, you're so well behaved. I can't hear you. Yes. Okay. And so flip camera, do you think they're actually accessible? Do you think they're actually easy to use? Yes. Yes? Yeah? Any reason why for anybody? No? Anybody got a reason why flip cameras are useful? Or why they're easy?
Simple.
They're simple, okay? So we wanted something that people had simple and clear ways that they could actually say from their own visions what it looked like to have change. One of the other images we've got here, this one that might not be as clear. What do people think this one is? Yeah. Okay, there's my earrings, okay, I had to give you. Okay? And it's literally, for the ear point of view of this, it's actually sort of like trying to get people to think about as community groups, You know, who needs to listen and learn from what community groups are saying, from what community groups are doing? So for the Sankofa Festival, and then what followed on as the Sankofa Transformation Project, people got together and they started to think about what do we do when we actually organise? What do we do when we actually get together? What are the issues and themes that we do? And so you had Sound Art Radio in the Southwest. There's a lovely image that was on the screen a little while ago of the quilters from.
Yeah, and actually the quilt's out in the foyer. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but when you go to the loos, it's hanging above the archway, which was done by some older people in Frome. It's a quilt telling their stories. They each had a separate section which would tell their story.
Okay. So the visions and the images of actually what those stories are, the visions, the images of what people celebrate in terms of what they do as community groups, it's unique to every group. It's unique to every particular member of a group. And so you've got the individual learning going on, where an individual might be learning skills, might be gaining confidence, might be feeling connected with others, might be having some critical debates and discussions with other people, some healthy discussions, be challenged by other people, as well as actually sort of like gathering together information that get a sense of what it feels like, so then you've got your heart, what it feels like to be as part of a community group, what it feels like to face certain issues, what it feels like to be able to sort of like try to define what kinds of changes you want, to what it feels like to have an opportunity to be able to name those changes in your own way. And then the mouth, it's actually sort of like thinking about what are the different ways in which people want to voice their sort of like stories, voice their concerns and their issues, so that people do listen to them, where people have got power, where people have access to resources and policy making responsibilities. It's actually making sure that there's a listening to and there's actually a sort of like connecting to the stories and the issues from communities. For the Federation, when we do get asked to come into national sort of like strategies to review things in areas like informal learning, we can't do our job unless we actually listen to the stories that the local people that are actually working at local levels with our members are doing. So even people that we have worked with directly, when our members are working with people, when our members are raising issues, in a sense basically that we have to keep listening, we have to keep learning, and it constantly changes. And so for community development learning to happen, be it people coming together for a taster session, going and visiting other people, be it somebody actually sort of like going and actually sort of like, you know, learning how to do something by maybe mentoring another person that's previously been a management committee member or a chairperson or a secretary. All that kind of learning might be in an informal way. It might be learning that's happening in a course that you're doing, maybe through an Open College network, or you might have actually gone on to do a course at university. So we've got the lifelong learning journey. So whatever the way of learning about how to be inclusive, how to actually make sure that everybody has a chance, it's important to actually recognise that when you look at community groups getting together and they're taking action to change things that aren't fair, that are unequal, that's probably one of the first places that you see democratic action. And democratic action in community groups is a really good way of actually moving things forward to support people to engage with some of the bigger issues that are being done at maybe local, regional, national, and even international level. So thank you very much.